8:49 is our time. This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. Well, joining us this morning is Dr. Adam Middleton. Good morning, and you brought props with you this morning.
Yeah, I brought the spine here is a, it's actually plastic. It's not a real one. You can get real ones, but they kind of a little more fragile and touchy. But this is a classic example. You see these a lot of times in chiropractic offices and doctors' offices. And most people don't think about themselves as this, but this is basically the essence of what you are. Your brain sits up here, up on top. This is the back of the skull here. And you have 24 movable vertebrae within this spinal column that allow for muscle attachment and allow to protect that spinal cord and these 33 pairs of nerves. There's 24 movable vertebrae, and then there's some fused vertebrae down here that are the sacrum. You have the pelvis. These are your pelvic bones. The hips then connect into this pelvis to make the legs. So this is the front, this is the bottom. We're looking at basically what we do as chiropractors. The majority of the time, doctors that you think of are treating symptoms. They're looking for symptoms of a disease, and then treating that symptom, and that's allopathy. That's the basic health care that the average American is used to. Chiropractic is different than that. Chiropractic interests itself with the frame and the care of that frame and interference to the power that controls every cell, every tissue, and every organ in the body, which is the brain and this nervous system. And it's like a set of telephone wires. You can look here and you can see each of these little yellow things are nerves that come off of the main trunk of the spinal cord, which is your central nervous system. These are the peripheral nerves, and each of these nerves go to something. So if this nerve is the thing that goes to, for instance, your heart or your lungs, then if we misalign something within this area of the spinal column, and we interfere with the mental impulses coming from the brain to that part of the body, then we have a problem. That's called a subluxation. Chiropractors treat subluxations. We detect and correct the cause, the underlying cause of the distress to that part of the body that is not getting 100% efficiency between the brain and the body. So changes in motion within this spine and these movable vertebrae change the efficiency with which the communication between the brain and that part of the body are occurring. So when we look at a spine, there's lots of places here where we can have trouble. And the reason that I think the majority of people are having more trouble as time goes on is because we are becoming more and more sedentary as a culture. And so much more stress is on this spine. These curves should look like this. We should have a secondary lumbar lordosis and a secondary cervical lordosis, and then a primary thoracic curve this way. So this is a little bit accentuated, but that's the way it should work. And then this works like an accordion. So when we bounce, this works like a spring. It bends into those curves. As what happens with degenerative joint disease and degenerative disc disease is these postural changes start to occur as that head comes forward. You can see how that's straightening this part of the spine and it's coming forward. That puts a lot of stress on these nerves in the lower cervicals. These kinds of things cause headaches. They cause breathing problems. They cause things like palpitations of the heart, thyroid issues, all kinds of issues.
I would imagine
that's where
like
these
back pain in there
from.
too.
Back pain is a symptom.
Because it looks like if you're bent over like that, you're gonna.
Yeah, back pain's a symptom that lets you know this stuff is going on. So back pain isn't a necessarily a disease. It's not a disease
right, but
classification.
I'm looking at the way you have that bent, and it just looks like that would cause stress.
Absolutely. And as you go, for every inch forward of head, you have about 10 more pounds that we're adding to the muscles of the neck to hold it up, and about 40 more pounds per square inch that's happening in the lower lumbar spine. So for every inch, you add 10 pounds up here to the muscles and tension. And for every inch forward here, the compression that's happening down here is even more. It's accelerated by sitting, because then we bring this forward and we lose the lumbar curve. So that compresses these discs even more. And what do we do when we sit most of the time? Are we sitting up nice and tall with our feet flat on the floor the way we're supposed to? Or are we slumping? And as we slump, then we compress this even more. So 89% of the population has a herniated disc at L4 or L5. 89% of the population, and that's around age 30, we're starting to see that as that high of a percentage. So once it's herniated, it's always herniated. So from then on, we see that. And many of these start to occur in high school. We see them in young kids, especially with sports injuries. So football and is a primary where we see a lot of these herniated discs in the lumbar spine, and we see a lot of the herniated discs in the cervical spine. Reality is that this structure is the essence of you. This is your core. When we talk about core, we're talking about all the muscles that connect to the spine in the center and that hold your posture and help you sit up nice and tall and straight. They help you move. They do the things that are connected to this on the inside. So when we look at core muscle and we talk about core muscle, we're really talking about strengthening and stabilizing the posture and strengthening and stabilizing the curves of the spine, because that's what's so important. As we look at what chiropractors are detecting and correcting on a daily basis, we're detecting small changes within the spine that are interfering with the way it moves, and there's muscle involved with that, there's ligament involved with that, there's tendon involved with that. But the primary issue is this core, this spine being misaligned is what's creating all those other weaknesses. Remember, everything in your body is alive. Every cell, every tissue, every organ, every piece of bone, every piece of ligament, every piece of muscle. None of it is just inanimate objects sitting there that are just connected. They're all living cells, and they have to get 100% of the information on how to function, what to do, when to do, and how to do it from the brain. The way that happens is through this nervous system. So your body takes in information from its environment. Through this nervous system, it relays that message to the brain. The brain then sends those messages back to the body and how to react to it. So it doesn't matter whether we're talking internal or external environment, but you eat food, your stomach sends messages to the brain to tell it what's there. The brain sends messages back to the stomach to tell it how to handle it. And the truth is that only through this nervous system functioning at an efficient and optimal way can that actually function normally. When we start to interfere by having aberrant curves, changes in alignment within individual vertebrae along the spine or subluxations, then your body doesn't work as efficiently as it should, and you don't get the health and the results that you're looking for in your life, because this holds you back from your potential. And I talk about chiropractic a lot being everybody has a potential, and it's here. And most of us are living here. And chiropractic is all about changing and closing that gap between where you're living and where your potential is. The better you're communicating between your brain and your body, the closer you're going to reach your potential of health, of athletic ability, of your ability to relax and study and pay attention in school. The reality of what most of us are focused on are symptoms. Well, symptoms are like the engine light in the car. When the engine light comes on in the car, your low back pain starts hurting you. That tells you that you have subluxation. You have discommunication between that brain and the body. It's not the problem. It's the symptom of the problem. And the problem, the underlying cause of that problem, is something wrong with the spine. When we talk about looking at a engine light, that's not the problem. That's the light telling you that there's a problem, right? And just the same thing with pain. When you say that causes pain, yes, but the pain is not the problem. The pain is a symptom that you have a problem. And the symptom, treating the symptom is what allopathy does. We'll give you some narcotics. By the way, I read this morning, when we talk about opioids, and we never stop talking about opioids because it's such an important issue. Every 45 minutes in the United States right now, every 45 minutes, the Poison Control Center gets a call for a child every 45 minutes from opioids in the America. So that's a pretty significant thing. And a lot of those things that people are taking those opioids for, they've never been to a chiropractor. They went to an allopath who treated them with medicine because that's their tools of the trade, added medicine, give them, a prescription, and send them on their way. And that's what the beginning of the whole opioid problem is. And meanwhile, what they really had was a subluxation, but the doctor they went to wasn't trained to detect or correct subluxations. Only chiropractors are doing that.
Doc, great to see you. So you're saying even the spineless people I know have spines?
Even the spineless people.
Okay. Yeah. It's great to see you. Thanks for bringing that in. That's pretty cool. And we'll continue talking about this next week. All righty.
Thanks.
9 o'clock. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
Welcome to my house. Baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Morning comes and you know that you wanna stay. Close the blinds, let's pretend that the time has changed. Keep our clothes on the floor, open up champagne.